Guyana, the PNCR leader, central executive, and the PNCR family invites you to our grand barbecue line and family fun day on Easter Monday at Congress Place, Sophia. Gates open from 10 a.m. Admission is absolutely free. Barbecue served from 2 p.m. at $12 and $1,500. Bring out the entire family. There will be a children's corner with bouncy castle and trampoline. Remember, it's the PNCR Grand Family Fun Day and Barbecue and Lime on Easter Monday at Congress Place, Sophia.
And now, here is Coretta MCDonald, Member of Parliament and host of Advancing the Cause.
Well, good night to you. Thank you for being here with us again on another episode of Advancing the Cause. This evening, we are going to be discussing with you quite a few issues that are happening in and around Guyana and maybe further afield. I'm happy to be here with you again this week. But this week, of course, we have some bit of sad news to share with you. Let me just make sure I fix this camera correct. Yes, this week we have some bit of sad news to share with you. Not too long ago, we learned that actor, comedian, our own Henry Rodney passed sometime this afternoon in New York. And so on behalf of the family of Advancing the Cause, we would want to express our sincere condolences to the family, immediate family of Henry Rodney and those within the circle of the theater. This is indeed a great loss to us. Henry, as we know him, would have been entertaining us over the years. And it is sad that, we have to lose some of our very, very influential people in society. But what? There's a saying that says God knows best. And so to his immediate family, again, we do extend our sincerest condolences to you. And we trust that God is going to comfort you during this your time of grief. And more sad news, we lost just yesterday a 59-year-old woman who was struck by a speeding minibus. And I want to say this at this time: road safety should be the business of all of us. Sometimes you drive the streets of Georgetown, you drive the main roads, the main highways, and when you look at the manner with which people operate on the roads, you wonder whether these persons are sensible. I mean, I guess it's not the right word to use, but you sometimes wonder whether these persons really value their lives. You see motorcyclists in and out of traffic, sometimes with no helmet. You see the persons who drive these electric scooters, and you're seeing them doing all sorts of things, sometimes in the middle of the road. We have pedestrians attempting to cross busy highways, Mandela Highway out there, and then you have the Rupert Craig Highway, and you have the East Coast Road. And just because there's a pedestrian crossing there, you see pedestrians just start walking across the road. Come on, we have to ensure that we preserve lives. And in order to preserve lives, we have to be careful, we have to be responsible. We have to take note of what is happening. Let me say this: not because you have a pedestrian crossing there, it gives you the right to cross the road at any time. You should be there standing, giving signal to the flowing traffic or ongoing traffic, indicating to them your desire to cross the road. And then some very caring and cautious driver is going to put on their hazard light and signal to all the other traffic behind him or those approaching to say, look, somebody wants, there's something happening here, you need to slow down, you need to slow down, you need to stop. And then we had a mother and son injured today in another accident when their motorcycle ran into a minibus. They are now hospitalized. We, again, let me say to us, do take care on the road. You are important. All of us are important. We want to have you around. So take care when you use the road and encourage others to make road safe their business. And then with that, we saw frustration being vented by residents of Dennis Street, Sophia, where they're having rehabilitation works being conducted or done there, let me say that, being done there. But the dust is affecting residents. And so they've been crying out for help. They've been crying out for help. Minister of Public Works, come on, take care of our citizens. That kind of dust can cause serious issues later on. So while we appreciate the fact that the roads are going to be fixed, we must also appreciate the fact that many residents do suffer as a result of what is being done. So while we are fixing the roads, we must be considerate. And I'm hearing the folks saying, you know, they've made reports and they're asking that, you know, maybe a fire tender or some truck come along there and sprinkle the water there on the sand and the road that is being graded and so on. Come on, we need to listen to our people sometimes. It's not always about you, and it shouldn't be about you. It should be about the citizens and what is best for us. So come on, get down there, do something tomorrow so that our citizens can be at peace. I noted too that our citizens staged a protest action, and that is one for concern. And then I raised this about 3 weeks ago, or it might have been a little more, where we would have had reports coming in from especially Region 1, Mabaruma, Port Kaituma, where these reports have indicated that PPP activists are in those areas and they are illegally registering the Venezuelan migrants. These are concerns that we have. And we are saying to you, these should not be dealt with lightly. You know, the thing is, we talk about honesty, we talk about integrity, and we talk about many things. But when it's the time to practice that, we see people doing a whole lot different. You know, it's like the song said, practice what you preach. But we preach here and we don't practice. So I'm asking that we have all of those scrutineers, that you keep your eyes out there to see exactly what is happening and to hamper and halt this kind of illegal process that is being carried out in some of these far-reaching areas. You know, the thing is, we have seen again how comfortable the Venezuelans come and they're here operating, how comfortable the Brazilians are here and they're operating, how comfortable the Cubans are and they're operating. But when the Haitians came here, it was a whole big hullabaloo, and they were just pushed out of this country. All kinds of restrictions have now been placed on the Haitians. Old people say, if you're gonna sweep Paul, you must sweep Pat and Saul and with the same broom. Don't use different brooms for sweeping. And so if we have a problem, we have problems with the Haitians being here, but we don't have any problems with other nationalities settling illegal nationals settling here. But we have problems with the Haitians who are attempting to just pass through here. We have issues with them. And all of the reasons why this installed government, why they have issues with the Haitians being here. We all know the reasons, and the reasons are as clear as day. And at this point, I'm going to alert our viewers. If you have 14 to 18-year-olds who have not been registered, please go out there and get them registered. Get them registered. You need to start looking at that, because that's a serious issue. If we're going to deal with, if we're going to talk about local government elections, then we need to be registered. And all those 14-year-olds and so on who are now coming, they need to be registered too, because in another couple of years, they're going to be ready for to receive ID cards. They're going to be ready to vote at national elections. And so we want to have your names on those lists. As a matter of fact, when we talk about lists, let me say to us, in 2020, we had just about 700 and what, I think 86,000 persons who were registered. 86,000 persons, 786,000 something persons, or the population of Guyana. For voting purposes, we had about 600 and something persons. And then we had big numbers shown up. And we recognized that the list is a bloated one. And so we're calling on all to ensure that the list this time around is not going to be a bloated list. It's going to be a clean and lean and mean list. A list that would reflect those persons who are eligible to vote. And we know this the way that the installers that they would want to use to create the kind of voting power that they need, not this time around. And so we are not going to have those kinds of things happening this time around. We must be able to ensure that we have a clean list. So again, go out there to the GCOM offices, get registered. And then we talk about democracy. And you know, I recognize persons are saying, again, we don't practice what we preach. Democracy is how we see it sometimes, very convenient, how we see democracy and our definition for democracy. And so here it is, we have the Dr. Marlon Cole. Is he a doctor? No. Marlon Cole, we saw, being removed from his position. For what reason? We're still yet to be told about that. He was the head of the government analysis, food and drug department. He was the head there. And his job there was to protect Guyanese from some of the harmful food that are imported in this country. Of course, we saw on many newscasts where Marlon Cole seized lots and lots of food items from businesses. And of course, those who were affected, they started screaming. And as a result of their screams, Marlon Cole was removed from that position. Maybe most of the importers are friends of. Most of them are friends of. And so Marlon Cole has been removed. Is this democracy? It's what we call democracy. And then the very fate befell the director of mental health, Dr. Thomas. She too was removed from her post, and she has been reassigned. Now she has to work under the directions of a doctor who's much junior to her. Again, this seems to be what we call convenient democracy. Convenient democracy. We have seen Some contractors being able to win contracts without even having the regular prerequisites that are required, but they're granted huge contracts, while other contractors, the real contractors, they have been ignored. They have been ignored. And so we saw all, it's amazing. It's amazing the way things are happening in this country. And we want to talk about democracy. And when we don't talk about democracy, we want to talk about the one Guyana. Where is this one Guyana? And they might be right, one Guyana for a certain group of people. One Guyana for a certain group of people. And not too long, we saw, again, inconsistencies with this government, this installed regime. Very, very inconsistent with what they do. But you know what? These were the same people who were shouting out loud when they sat in the opposition benches. These were the people who were crying out that this should happen, that should happen, the other should happen. As a matter of fact, let me remind us, in 2018, when the Guyana Teachers Union took industrial action against the coalition government, you had the vice president, who was opposition leader then, shouting out in the teachers' corner, urging the government to listen to the teachers, listen to the teachers' union, talk with them, they need engagement. But in 2021, the same people who are sitting now installed in government, they have refused to talk with the teachers. As a matter of fact, they are bringing all kinds of foolishness up now to talk about when they're going to sit at the table and who they will not sit with. Well, let me tell you something. You can't dictate for the GTU who its representatives are going to be. We don't dictate for you. And so you will not have the opportunity to dictate for us. The GTU's executive officers were elected by their members. And so their members will decide, or they have already decided, who are going to be the persons representing them. So no government official will tell the GTU, well, at least they could talk, but they can't direct for the GTU who must sit where and who must not sit where. And this is what we talk about all the time. The inconsistencies, convenient inconsistencies. When it's convenient, yes, you use it. And when it's not convenient, you don't use it. And so we had all those issues. The commissions that are not in place. Teaching Service Commission, Public Service Commission, Police Service Commission, all of these commissions are not in place. And, that is not worrisome. That is not worrisome at all for this government. This installed regime, it's not worrisome for them that persons are going to be there languishing in acting positions and we don't do anything about it. They're not concerned about that. They're not concerned that so many persons whose aim it is to reach the very top in their scales can't get there because of the lack of commissions. I would want to urge the installed president. I hear him talk about a day of prayer and a day of prayer. You should ask God to grant you forgiveness for the kinds of injustices that you've been allowing to happen to the people in this country. Ask for forgiveness for that. Ask God to give you the kind of wisdom you need and the courage to be able to stand up and to say when things are wrong, to say that they are wrong. Guyanese people would respect you for that. And on that note, any man who seeks to disrespect women, I have zero tolerance for you. Zero tolerance for you. Any man who tells himself that he is so big and pompous and he can disrespect women, I have zero tolerance for you. And I'm sure many of our viewers here are echoing this same sentiment. So whether you be president of a union, or you be minister, or you be an attorney, I have zero tolerance for you. And I will call you out when you set out there to disrespect women. Yes, I will call you out. Whether you be pastor, or priest, or minister, or attorney, or a regular husband, or a child father, I will call you out. Our women folk are not for you to disrespect them. You feel you can call them or refer to them by using all sorts of words, and you want to spit on them, and you want to send them nude pictures, and you want to beat up on them. I have zero tolerance for you. And we're not going to encourage that. We're going to shout you out all the time. You ought to be respectable persons in this society. And so we demand that from you. Don't come out here and believe that because you're carrying a title, you can do whatever you want to do. Not in this day and age. It's not going to be tolerated. Our women folk will not sit idly by and allow you to do these kinds of foolishness. You are going to be called out on them. You are going to be called out on them. So take note. And then you know what is most disgusting? When we have senior functionaries covering for these people, sheltering them. You know? When we have senior functionaries sheltering these people, you are just as guilty as the persons who are carrying out these acts. Just as guilty. Just as guilty as they are. Stop disrespecting women, man. You came from women. Women nurtured you. And you want to disrespect women now? You're not fit to hold those positions. You're not fit to hold those positions. And I will tell you that straight. I'll tell you that to your faces too. It's disgusting. Very, very disgusting. You know, a president could refer to colleagues as elements and then want to tell you foolish things like, oh, I didn't call anybody's name. I didn't call anybody's name. You ever see any kind of craziness like that? Huh? The president of the union, the GTU. So you're mad, you're just talking like that and you don't know who you're referring to? Come on, get a grip of yourself. Get a grip of yourself. And so with that, yes, you recognize that I'm being worked up. Just yes. And I'm reading your comments and I'm seeing here, yes, persons are agreeing with me and they're saying that we should call them out. Yes, and I'm seeing comments there from New Jersey. Thank you for your comment. And I'm seeing comments there from Barbados. Thank you for your comments. And so, yes, we have persons watching us from all around. And so let me take this opportunity to say good night to you, a special good night to our folks in the Caribbean who are watching at us. Thank you for being here on Advancing the Cause. Because you know what? We share issues that are relevant. We speak the truth. We highlight issues that are happening because we want persons to know what is happening and for the persons who are involved in these kinds of things to take corrective actions, to change their attitudes, to be respectful and responsible, and stop making yourselves what you're not. That's why we share these issues. And so in a while from now, we're going to have MP Nima Flu joining us. I'm not sure what is happening, but we're going to have MP Nima Flu joining us in a few moments from now. But I needed to raise these issues. I really do needed to raise these issues. And on the lighter side of things, yes, I do want to congratulate the leader of the PNCR, Comrade Aubrey Norton, and Comrade Valda Lawrence. They are going to be joining us in Parliament very soon, and we look forward to a more intimate camaraderie. And of course, I know that our discussions are going to take a different slant. And then we'll have no longer, the whole issue of, oh, we don't have this and we don't have an opposition leader. You notice that's a new trend now. Oh, because there's no opposition leader, that is why this is happening. Oh, because we don't have an opposition leader, we have to do A or we have to do B or we had to do it this way. Let's hear what the talks are going to be then. And so I've been there with the lead of the PNCR. I noticed he's quite upbeat about his mandate, and so he's been visiting communities across this country. He's been visiting communities. I shared with him that walkabout yesterday in the East Drumvelt community, and I know he has a series of activities that he's going to be on. And so we want to see our people are talking to us and we are listening to them. And I trust that not only there isn't going to only be listening, but we are going to have actions being taken. And so let me ask our operator to please bring MP Nima Flu on. I think she's somewhere backstage. Operator, could you have MP Nima Flu on? I think she's waiting there backstage. But while MP Flu is coming on, again, I want to share MP Nima Flu Best. Good night to you. But just before we get to you, I want to extend congratulations to all of those persons who would have celebrated birthdays yesterday, today, those who are celebrating their wedding anniversaries. Congratulations to you, and may God continue to bless you. For those who have celebrated birthdays, I want to wish you many more birthdays. And for those who have celebrated their anniversaries, I want to wish that you keep that fire burning right there, so that the warmth would remain right in there, and that love would continue to flourish. So congratulations to all those who have celebrated their birth anniversaries and wedding anniversaries. May God continue to bless you. And like I said, for those of us who are bereaved at this time, we wish you comfort from the Holy Spirit, and we trust that in this your time of grief, you're going to use the pleasant memories of your loved ones, especially those of Henry Rodney, which would be comforting to you at this time. MP Nima Flu Best, I'm not sure, maybe you would have been here once or so, but it's good to have you here on Advancing the Cause. We want to talk a little about what has been happening on the East Bank. I know that you are our geographic MP, Region 4, specifically for the East Bank of Demerara. And I know that you've been busy because you're not only MP, but you are a full-time teacher, you are a full-time mother and wife, as well as community organizer. And you carry those caps very comfortable. Tell us what has been happening with you over the last couple of weeks since we've been out of Parliament. What has been happening with you on the East Bank?
All right, a pleasant good evening. Nice to be back on Advancing the Cause. I've been reading the comments section because I was backstage quite a while reading through all the comments. I must say that I agree with the points you've raised and the comments made by our viewers. I take note of one particular comment that says that the day of prayer is just a show because the wickedness will just continue. And that is something that, I take keynote of, because, the intentions may not generally be pure, and persons can recognize that even though the activity probably haven't come off as yet. On the East Bank, I'll continue to visit weekly, and interact with my communities. Tomorrow, the Mocha Arcade community will be visited by Comrade Leader, Comrade Norton. He will be here tomorrow afternoon for a walkabout. So those folks online from the community of Mocha Arcadia, take note. Tomorrow afternoon, they can look forward to seeing Comrade Leader in the community. Some of the issues that continue to affect persons on the East Bank, you would have mentioned one, the roads, where the roads are being done, and you have all the dust and all these things affecting residents and persons. These contractors are not taking care in how they are conducting their work. That is a sore issue. When you travel along the East Bank, every road that is being done, one of the things you observe, the contractors are throwing the stuff in the drains. And then they're completing the roads, and the drains are still blocked. I don't know if the clerk of works or the engineer or whoever is responsible for supervision is not paying any interest in this. And then they say they do a road, and the rain comes, and the drain is blocked, and all the water is on this so-called new road that they have. And that is one of the sore issues we have on the East Bank. Every community you go to, when a road is being done, the drains are not being cleaned after, or the contractor is not picking up the extra stuff and all of that and keep the place tidy in a manner that residents can be comfortable. So we have drainage issue on the East Bank here. We have serious issues when it comes to execution of work by some of the NDCs, especially those that are controlled by the PPPC chairman or leaders, where they are not equitably distributing services to residents in their communities, in the different areas. You have Eccles, in Eccles, I know particularly, every time you visit and you talk to people in Barostong, you ask, well, last year I'll get something done. Oh, a long time ago, or they just come and clean and they leave all the stuff at the side of the drain. You go to Grove, you find the same thing. They're having these workers clean, and all the stuff is left right on the parapets. And so when you have rain, everything is back in the drain, and you're back to square one. And so those are some of the issues that we continue to see happening. There's several communities. Caneville is asking till now to have a road done, the drains clean. Caneville is an area where you have very high bushes in the canal. It's taller than the houses, a lot of them. And nothing is being done to help the people in that area. When you go to the highway, because it's right through, you go to Samville. Samville is asking for a proper road and some lights. Even some solar lights would help those people, but nothing is being done. And only specific areas are being looked at on the East Bank of the Moaro. So those are some of the key issues I can highlight as I continue to visit and interact with people. And I want people to know, when we raise these issues, it tells you that we are representing you, and we are paying interest in what is happening and doing what we can to ensure that you get the help that is much needed.
So MP Flo Bess, you're saying that the issues that are being highlighted here, I'm wondering, let me first ask, is Burnham Boulevard one of the roads that is slated to be done? Because I remember in Parliament we had Nigel Daramla talking about roads being fixed, and he highlighted Burnham Boulevard. And then subsequently I saw pictures of Burnham Boulevard with all the potholes. So we were wondering whether it was a different Burnham Boulevard in the same neighborhood, in the same village. Is that one of the roads that is up for consideration?
Well, I was told it is now being looked at, although the Daramla stood in Parliament and said it was done. Nothing has been done yet to that road. Absolutely nothing. It's in the same deplorable condition, and we are waiting. And so I send reminders often on my page that the road still needs to be done, and we're waiting to see what will happen.
And then you highlighted the drain, which I know it's an issue not only on the East Bank, but it's an issue all around. It's an issue in Georgetown itself, where where the drains are being clogged. I'm not sure whether it's the city council who has the response. Well, I know they were the persons where that was the entity with responsibility for looking after the drains and cleaning drains and clearing debris and so on. And over and over, I don't know if you have this on the East Bank, but I know in Georgetown we have issues with all of these old vehicles that are still parked on the road, on the shoulders of the road, and nobody seemed to be doing anything about it. You have containers, businessmen bringing these containers and they're parking them there, which is also a hazard. And nobody seemed to be looking into these issues. I'm hoping that this program, when we highlighted on this program, that persons would take responsibility and they would want to act. I can say to you that some of these containers and some of these old vehicles, they actually block your view when you have to traverse some of these streets. They block your view from seeing the traffic that is coming towards you. And so very often you have to be edging out to the road, and then you don't know what is coming beyond there unless you hear somebody blowing their horns at you. What is happening? Do you have that same issue on the East Bank?
Yes, we do have that issue in some areas. You traverse and you'd recognize that there's a lot of old vehicles parked on the parapets. And yes, it causes difficulties in persons being able to see when you're a driver, to be able to turn quickly or in a careful manner. So you always have to be doing that. But added to these old vehicles on the parapet, some of the concerns or issues I've been seeing, some people actually service the vehicles on the road and you have oil thrown at the side of the road and affecting people passing in some areas, and nobody seems to care. And you talk about it and people are offended. And that also is a hazard in itself. So you find that persons are not, a lot of communities you go to, the parapets are not being kept in a manner that is safe enough for the community to have a beautiful environment and for persons to traverse safely. And it is something that I think more interest need to be paid to it. One of the other things I've seen is that some of the areas that are disposing garbage, the garbage site is at the back of Eccles, and you have tractors or truck traversing with the garbage not covered. And so you might be driving behind one of the tractors and all the plastic blowing, paper blowing, and I'm wondering in my mind, what really are we doing? Are we taking the rubbish from one area, little right through till you reach your dump site? I mean, I would expect that they if it's the NDC providing the service or whoever is providing the service will cover these garbage and drive. You know how many mornings I got caught behind tractors with garbage and you got plastic flying on the vehicle or paper flying out and old things just blowing from the tractors and the person sitting there, the workers just sit, because the SIP workers usually take care of that. They just sit on the tractor and are like, we just taking a nice breeze in the seawall or we enjoying a nice hangout whilst you in the back dealing with all the garbage blowing in your face and into the vehicle or into your vehicle. So you have that to deal with, and that is something I would like to see the NDCs pay more attention to. Because if you're disposing garbage and you have to drive from, let's say you're driving from Grove to Eccles, cover the garbage or have them in bags tied securely so that drivers would not have to be dealing with garbage flying into their vehicles or passengers or standing by on the road flying on them. That's something that needs to be looked at. And I would have mentioned it before, and I still saw it again this week.
So we're asking Nigel Dharamlal here, the time you find to do all sorts of craziness, as is alleged, with all those text messages and all those pictures, find the proper thing to do, find work to do. Find work to do that would earn you the fat dollars that you're collecting. Talk with these garbage collectors, let them know what they have to do, because indeed, this is a hazard. It can create accidents, and we don't want that. So if you're going to be moving garbage from, let's say you're moving from Diamond, or you're removing from Eccles, or you're removing from wherever with a tractor, then that tractor, you must have some sort of, I don't know whether you're going to use plastic or you're going to use tampon, whatever you're going to use, cover the garbage when you're transporting them from one location to the dump site. That's all we're asking you to do. And that's not very difficult to do. It's easier than sending a text message or posing to take a picture. It's easier than doing that. MP Flu, I noticed, yes, we've touched asking, I would want to promote on this program that every community, you should take time, residents within communities should take pride in their communities. Let's start doing some planting on the shoulders of the road, as long as it doesn't come in the way of our traffic. Let's put some nice plants there and put some nice tires around them and paint them up and so on. So when persons come to your communities, they can see beauty. And that not only transcends to the eyes of persons, but it speaks to your mind, and it creates that sense of beauty from within. So let me promote here for citizens across this country: East Rumvelt, West Rumvelt, Eccles, Mocha Arcadia, Timeri, all our communities, all Boystown, all our communities across this country. Let's promote a sense of beauty in our communities. And let's be those kinds of responsible residents, so that we would be on the lookout for persons, strangers coming into your communities. I noticed we've had reports of persons' cars being broken into. Well, that has been an ongoing thing, but it seemed to be very rampant again. Persons' cars being broken into, persons' homes being broken into, especially when they leave for work. So those of us who, those residents who are at home and are not working, please be on the lookout for your neighbors. Look for strangers coming into your communities, and be alert at all times, so that you can avoid some of the incidences that we are having, incidents of theft that we are having in our communities. But MP Nima flew best. We've seen over the last couple of weeks, and it's one that happened maybe a year ago, where we have seen this new trend of our men folk going down a path where they think that disrespecting women is the new norm of the day. Your thoughts on that? I know we spoke about it some time before on this same program, but with other persons. But your views on that?
Well, I would want to say to our women, we should not accept any form of disrespect from anyone, and especially when it comes to the male. I'm still upset when I think about the officer that was really abused by the attorney, performing her duty and being spat upon and being called whatever. It's very upsetting to think that a woman can leave her home to go and provide for her family and have to encounter such nonsense. And I hope that no other female will go work at that residence. It is very, very sad to see the manner in which women are being treated, especially by these officials who are to be leaders by good example, that continue to be disrespectful and distasteful when it comes to women. You know, Coretta, one of the things I always think of when these things happen, if the women should really come together and decide to fix these males that feel that they have the right to disrespect our women, what would happen? You know, I always think about that. Because if just like when the attorney attacked that woman, a whole group of women that turn up there, I sure he would have been fixed very nicely. And Dharmlal playing stupid, he could be fixed very easily. But we don't want to go down that road. We want to encourage people to be respectful. And I'm saying to the women folks, do not accept any form of disrespect. Stand up for your rights. Stand up for your rights. Speak out when you have to. I know that sometimes you go, you make reports and it's not taken seriously, but you make your reports. And let's deal with it together. Speak out against such actions, not acceptable, it's not right. And the amazing thing, like you said earlier, The men folks, they should know where they came from. It's a woman that carried you for 9 months. Why would you want to be in a position where you disrespect a woman and treat her anyhow with blatant disregard? And so this is something we will continue to speak out against. And I want to encourage the women not to accept any form of disrespect. Stand up for your rights. Stand up for your rights. I know
And
you can
coming
do it, and we all can do it together.
coming closer home, we saw the Darmlal issue, but of course, I must remind you of the Kwame McCoy issue in
Yeah.
Parliament. And I have to highlight the Narvin Singh. I'm not sure if that's the correct pronunciation of his name, the attorney, the son of Justice Carl Singh, the incident with that police officer. And then we had quite recently the president of the GTU live on Facebook berating female colleagues and then, want to give the explanation that he didn't call names.
Mm-hmm.
How do you view these? I know you spoke primarily about the Darmlal issue, but how do you see these? Here is it we have the president of a union. Here is it we have an attorney who ought to know better.
You know, Coretta, the sad thing about it is that the GTU president knows, I'm quite sure 90% or 95% of the teachers are females. And why would you want to put yourself in a position to speak down or to belittle our female colleagues? I think that is really, really bad and very distasteful. And I hope that it doesn't have a reoccurrence when it comes to being that disrespectful to our women folks. And to the attorney who knows should know better also. Um, I hope that we see some form of justice or something happening in the courts when it comes to this particular matter. I don't think this one should slide easily by. And I want to encourage all women, pay attention. Let's pay attention to this particular case, because if you see nothing is happening, I'm quite sure if we unite together, something can happen. And that's what we need to bear in mind. We have to be our brothers and sisters keeper. And in this case, we have to be our sisters keeper and follow up what is happening. Let's see what's happening in the courts. If nothing is happening and we have to come out together and speak out against it, protest against the action and let something be done, let us do it. Because we have to ensure that nobody else will see it as an opportunity for them to continue going down the same road. Again, we need to have leaders of and being disrespectful to our women folk is totally unacceptable. Totally.
I just said it earlier, and I'm going to repeat this. I have zero tolerance for men who feel that they can disrespect women. Men who feel that they can abuse women, I have zero tolerance for them. And regardless of who you are, I'm going to call you out. Whether you like it or you don't like it, I'm going to call you out. As a matter of fact, I will continue to say you ought to be respectful to women, because it's women who nurtured you. You came from women, and you should at least be respectful and not feel that because you're holding some titles, you can't, that gives you the right to do what you want to do and to say what you want to say. MP Flume, I know we have looked at what's happening on the East Coast, on the East Bank, sorry, but I do remember there's this issue on hairstyles, and so we're going off of that one. We're going into another one now. We have this issue on hairstyles, and hairstyles doesn't affect learning, and hairstyles this, hairstyles that. Just a little tiny bit of your view on this matter, because I know there's going to be a GTU meeting where teachers are going to be able to express how they feel about this whole issue of hairstyles being allowed in school. You're a little bit on this.
My thoughts on this particular issue. One, the rules need to be revisited in some of the institutions. persons need to recognize maybe the timing some of these things were put in place. But we also need to ensure that our youths, they understand that there's a time and place for everything. And so having the right to wear your hair in whatever manner you feel, I still believe that consideration must be given that it will not be a style that is so distracting or too loud to cause issues in the school. And like I said, for me, some of the rules needs to be revisited because they were established at a different period at a different time. We have now globalization and all of that taking place, the internet age where you see persons are able to see different cultures, different practices, and some of these things would influence a lot. So it's a whole big conversation to go on. But yes, I believe some of the rules definitely needs to be revisited, and so that persons can be comfortable. But like I said, we must ensure that our young people understand that there's a time and a place for everything. So even though you may be allowed to wear your hair as you feel comfortable, it should not be a distracting in a manner that is distracting to others. So that's my humble view on this particular topic for now.
And do you believe that if we allow this whole issue about hairstyles, as a matter of fact, we should be able to have a definition. We should be able to define hairstyles. When we talk about hairstyles, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Because hairstyles could be. Are you saying hairstyles in general? So you're talking about my streaks, my weave, um, my designs. When we talk about hairstyles, what are we talking about? Because while we're saying hairstyles, students should be free to go with their hair and so on. That in itself can pose some difficulties for us if we don't put some border lines. Let me use those terms. If we don't put some border lines around that, it can go to the extreme, and it's not what we want to have in our school system. More so since our school system is the system that prepares our young people to go into the world of work. So if we allow our young people to get away with murder in the school system, this is how I see it, then we are opening the floodgates for them to behave anyhow when they get out there into the world of work. And of course, it is going to come to haunt them. Because if we look at the Guyana Defense Force, you cannot be enlisted there with streaks, with all kind of patches that are visible, design square and star and all kinds of and some all kinds of things. As a matter of fact, tattoos, if we were to go there, is not prohibited. Visible tattoos tattooing is not prohibited. It's prohibited when you are enlisted in certain disciplines. And so we have to, like you said, we have to teach our young people that whatever you do, there must be some form of modesty in what we do. We can't be outlandish, if that's the word I should use there, or brother. Let me use that one in what we're doing, because when we talk about hairstyles and we leave it open, again, we're going to be opening the floodgates for things to happen. And yes, I do agree with you that we've come a far way, and that some of these policies that we have, they need to be revisited. We must revisit some of these policies, but in our reviewing and revisiting of these policies, we must ensure that it doesn't come, we don't put ourselves in harm's way by allowing our children to do whatever they feel like doing. You see, the thing is, you don't spare the rod and spoil the child, because it would come to haunt you later on. And so we would want to Spiro, we would want to guide our children in such a way that they don't get themselves too led away, believing that all kinds of things can happen whenever and wherever. And so it is on this note that we would want to say thank you to you, Honorable Nima Flew Best, for spending this time with us. Again, I heard you saying that the leader of the PNCR, Mr. Aubrey Norton, or Comrade Norton, is going to be visiting your community tomorrow. And so we expect to have your villagers coming out there in their numbers, sharing their concerns, talking about how we are going to be able to change things around and to make life in our community or in our communities that are going to be visited much more comfortable, where persons would be able to enjoy, our citizens would be able to enjoy the good life that has been promised to them. But before I allow you to go, I noticed yesterday while we were visiting one community, the folks were talking about the oil money, and they want some of the oil money, and why the oil money not triggering down to them. I guess we'll hear some of that coming from the folks in Mocha. But what's your thoughts on this whole issue of the oil money? As a matter of fact, let me say to you, we've had several reports of persons who are working with ExxonMobil. They're talking about the differences in salaries. Persons who are working there with them, because they're Guyanese, they're receiving X amount, and Trinidadians are receiving another amount which is higher than what they're receiving. Your thoughts on this whole issue of us being the next or the Dubai of the Caribbean, and what you expect to see happening here in terms of a turnaround in the lives of our citizens?
Well, you know, when I think about the oil money, I think of the needle in the haystack. That's how Guyanese will look at it, because you're not seeing or any form of effect of us having all this newfound wealth, and we're not benefiting from it. That's the reality. I would have heard of complaints. I would have received complaints from persons that speaks about the disparity of payment for Guyanese versus someone from overseas. And that is also another sad state. When you visit the other Caribbean islands, those people are comfortable in their own country as citizens of their islands or country. But Guyanese now, we look like if we have to be fighting to benefit from the resources that rightfully is here, and Guyanese ought to be the first set of people to really benefit from the oil resources. What we have to do as a people is to push and work together, and keep making our voices, or somebody will listen. And of course, when the coalition get back in power, the Guyanese people will see the benefit of the oil money. We have to keep working steadfastly to ensure that we benefit from these resources. One of the things I looked at the other day, as a statement was being made, and we still calling ourselves underdeveloped and poor. It's time that we move away from that statement and talk about the oil-rich Guyana. You know, we have to own it. We can't be having wealth and still calling ourselves poor. So as a people, let us continue to be on the tail of the installed regime, so that we can benefit from the monies, the oil money that our country is receiving.
Well, you know, I agree with what you were saying, but the thing is, I don't know. Again, we preach, but we don't practice what we preach. We don't practice what we preach. And true. All of the acts that we've been seeing over the last, 20 months, 21 months, something, you know, from 2020 to now, all of these acts that we've been seeing that have been perpetrated against our people, acts of injustices, all we are seeing is a repeat of them, a repeat. And like everything else, every time the PPP comes around, this is what you get: injustices, injustices, injustices being meted out to the poor and ordinary people. And you know, we call ourselves, we hear this talk about one Guyana, but in actual fact, we really do have two Guyanas. One Guyana for a certain group of people and another Guyana for next group of people. And so it is against that backdrop that we want to call on every citizen, because there's a saying that says, in little numbers, we can't do much, but together we can do so much more. By ourselves, we can do little, but together we can do so much. And that is what I want to leave with us this evening on Advancing the Cause. In little numbers, we can do little, but together as a collective, we can do so much. So when you have these men disrespecting women, we want to hear the voices of our people. When we have all these contractors being sidelined because they are not friends to the installed regime, we must hear our people coming out to talk about it. When we have all these practices where you are having certain communities being sidelined and other communities, you're having all kinds of developmental works going on there, we must come out and speak out against these things, because it is only then that we are going to be able to bring the kind of change that we want to see in this country. It is only then that we are going to have a true reflection and the true meaning of our national motto, which says not one Guyana, but one people, one nation, one destiny. That's the only way we'll have that. Yes, of course, we're aware that our country, our society, this dear land of ours, it's multicultural. And we have learned over the years to accept and to love each other. But there are a certain group of people who see it best and find it fitting to want to divide and rule our people. As a Guyanese nation, let me say to us, in little numbers, we can do not much, but together we can do so much more. And let's work towards making this country of ours a better country. MP Nima Flew Best, your closing remarks, and then we'll close.
I agree with your statement. I want to say a special thanks to you for having me on the show. And remember, people, power lies in the hands of the people. If we all stand together, we can overcome anything. Have a good night.
Good. And so I too want to close by saying, when is enough enough? When would we as a people decide that we want to regain the confidence of each other? We want to be one people with one nation, with one destiny. When are we going to stand up and shout when things are wrong, and stand up and shout again together when things are right? Just remember, COVID is still alive and well. I've seen persons walking the streets without masks, large crowds, large gatherings. Just remember, COVID is alive and well. We need you here. So take care, be good citizens, wear those masks, wear them correctly, sanitize as often as possible, and let's continue to work for the development of this country. Let's have our voices being made, our voices being heard, so that we can effect the change that we want. This is all for now on Advancing the Cause for this week. See you again next week for more on Advancing the Cause. Next week, we promise to have quite an exciting time. We have a very dynamic and jubilant and energetic guest who's going to be with us next week. So stay good, take care, and may God bless all of you. Have a good night, Guyana. Have a good night, my friends in the Caribbean. Have a good night, my friends in the UK and in North America. May God bless us all. Bye-bye.
Guyana, the PNCR leader, central executive, and the PNCR family invites you to our grand barbecue line and family fun day on Easter Monday at Congress Place, Sophia. Gates open from 10 a.m. Admission is absolutely free. Barbecue served from 2 p.m. at $12 and $1,500. Bring out the entire family. There will be a children's corner with bouncy castle and trampoline. Remember, it's the PNCR Grand Family Fun Day and Barbecue and Lime on Easter Monday at Congress Place, Sophia.
Thank you for watching our program. See you right back here, same place, same time. And remember, hold the line of battle, comrades. Our victory is sure.